Hi everyone, happy weekend and welcome back to my channel. On this video, we are going to be making a long-awaited project. I've been wanting to do this project for a long time, but I'm finally getting a chance to sit down and do it, and we're going to be using the Joy to make it. So you can use any machine. Quite honestly, the Joy was just on my table this morning, so I thought, yep, you'll do. So it definitely works for this project, and since it's so brand new and fun, I thought I would do another project where you do matless cutting, so we'll do that again today too. So for this project, we are doing a little shadow box, but it's going to be a little bit different. So this shadow box actually has a cutout. It has a little slot in the top, which is really fun. Now you can do a variety of things with this. The idea is that once you create it, you can drop things inside of it instead of opening up the back to put things in. So I love this idea. I actually did something similar to this about 10 years ago when my husband and I, before kids, so as you can imagine, we went and did all the things all the time, but we were new to the area that we lived in, so we were doing a lot of touring, and so I made one that was for ticket stubs. So we did put all of our ticket stubs in here, and it was really, really neat. And it even says that as an idea here, it says slide ticket stubs, letters, snapshots into the memory box, and let your memories be the talking. And that's just so cute. Okay, so my idea for this is I'm actually going to make an answered prayer box. So I've loved this idea for a long time of kind of keeping track of the prayers that have been answered. I think it's just a really fun reminder also in your home that, you know, sometimes prayers do take a long time to get answered, but you can kind of look over here and realize, you know what, they'll get answered. Don't worry. In some way or another, the answers will come. So I wanted to go ahead and make one for myself, so then I could just place all my little answered prayers in the little box, and I think it'll be really fun. Plus, it's also a really good little conversation starter with my kids. So I just love this idea. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. So if you don't want to make an answered prayer box, again, take away the tips and tricks from this tutorial and make whatever box that you would like. But in this tutorial, I'm going to show you all of the materials we're going to use. We're again going to be using the Smart materials. So I have the Smart vinyl. This is matless, so it's hard to see for the matte, for the white color, but there is a built-in mat on here, so it's awesome. You don't have to use a little mat or anything. You just feed it right through as is into the machine. And I'm also going to be using the Cricut transfer tape. So this is their just regular grip that came out with the Joy, with their line of products. There is another one that's stronger grip, but I've already told you guys in other videos that I never have very good luck with Cricut transfer tape, so I gave this a try just because I thought, well, it doesn't say strong grip on it, and I really, really liked it. So I'm going to be testing it on glass today. My last project when we did matless cutting was a 30-inch sign, so if you missed that, I'll put it up here. So if you're trying to make a bigger project, then you can reference that. And I used this transfer tape on that wooden sign, and it worked flawlessly. So let's try it on glass today. So we're also going to be using some pattern paper. You can pick any pattern paper that you would like. I'll hold this up for you. This is beautiful. I bought, just so that you guys know, because I know I'll get asked where I purchased this, I bought this Martha Stewart pattern paper pack, and I use it for everything. It is so, so, so pretty. There are so many beautiful designs in it. I use it so much that I went and got another pack because I thought, if I am loving this so much now, I'm going to be really sad when it runs out. So I went to Michael's and I got another pack. And then when I was there, I actually talked a lady who was in the aisle. I talked her into buying it too. She was like, do you like that? And I said, you have to buy this. It's amazing. So I am an enabler. If you see me in a craft store, I'm an enabler. I will make you buy all the things. So also, you're going to need a scraper or squeegee tool. You're going to need a weeding tool and scissors. And then we are going to measure our design with this little measuring tape. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to be measuring the inner parts of the frame here. So just the glass portion where the insides of the frame meet. So I am at just about 7.5 and should be a square. Yes, just about 7.5. So we are going to be using the 7.5 by 7.5 measurements as we get our design all designed in Design Space and get it measured and sized correctly for our project. So let's hop into Design Space. I'll show you the little decor that I'm going to put on this and how I'm going to use multiple texts. We're going to be pairing fonts. It'll be really fun. So let's hop in and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to go to the shapes icon over here. It's the 6th button down on the left. So I'm going to click that. And what we're going to do is we're going to replicate that 7.5 inch by 7.5 inch square glass that we're working with. So you can either use this little arrow tool right here, or you can just go up here and type in 7.5, and then it will make a square box out of that 7.5 measurement. And I'll go ahead and color this just this light gray. It's just representing the glass that we're going to be measuring. So this is really helpful when doing my design and sizing it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my text. So we're going to be using 2 different texts. We'll be pairing, 2 different fonts. So I'm going to add my text and use 2 different fonts. So I'm going to add them line by line. So the first one I'm going to be using is called Aftergrows. This is from Font Bundles. Oops, Aftergrows. And again, I'm just making this for myself. This is a personal project. So there we go, there's answered. Make sure I spelled it right. You guys know that if you've been at my channel a little bit, you guys know that I craft really early in the morning. It's just kind of a way to wake up slow and get some mommy time in before the rest of the day begins. So sometimes I do double check myself because I'm just fresh from sleep, so. Okay, so there we go. Those are the 2 fonts I'm going to be using. Sorry, that second one is called Daybreak. This one is also from Font Bundles, I believe. Both of them were a free download at the time that I downloaded them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this script font. I love pairing a more like flowy script font with more of a blocky font. I think it's so pretty and it just is very visually pleasing. So try doing that with your next design and see how you like it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these letters. Now, someone asked me yesterday, can you, instead of ungrouping and manually placing them, can you just use the letter spacing button? And you totally can. So this letter spacing button, I'll walk you through it real quick. What you do is you will just click the down arrow and it will bring the letters closer and closer and closer together. So this is a wonderful way to get things connected quickly. The reason I usually do manually is because some of the letters don't quite get there. So some of the letters are very, very done and ready, but some of them are just not quite there. So I always feel like I always go and ungroup anyways. So for me, I just always ungroup from the beginning, if that makes sense, and just do it myself. But you can do it this way as well. So if you get this far and you see that, you know, like the E and the D are just not really done well yet, you can still click and go ungroup and then just pull those in a little closer. Okay, so now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to weld these together. And if you come across this problem, what it means is that the tail of the letter before it has just entered into the letter a little too much. So you're just going to want to pull that out a little bit. And unfortunately, I don't love how it leaves like the tails, but I don't know. It's the way that Cricut does it, or this font does it. So you just kind of have to go with it. Okay, so now actually when it prints, it really looks good. So I'm not too worried. I'm going to see how this is why I just ungroup it. I don't think this is quite lined up quite yet. So I'm just going to ungroup again. Oh, I have to unweld. Hold on. Let me see if I can get back there to the unweld. Let's see, is it unwelded? Yes, it is. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull that in a little bit. Okay, now I think I am happy with that. Okay, so again, definitely use this, that letter spacing button, or if you just want ultimate control, just hit the ungroup button and it works just as well. So your choice, whatever, oh goodness gracious, whatever gets you to the final whatever gets you to your final project beautifully is the answer. So don't worry. If you do something different than I do, then that's totally fine. Come on, buddy. Unweld. There we go. Okay, let's see if that one works. Goodness. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to size this up just a tad. And then I'm going to actually use that letter space button for the opposite reason. I'm going to push these letters a little farther apart. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want these to visually be a little bit closer in length. I think it'll just look a little nicer. And they don't have to be exact, but for me, I just wanted them a little bit closer. And I like how this dip of the S is kind of dipping into this space between the R and the A. I just think it looks super intentional. I'm gonna stick right there. I think that looks great. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I am just going to see if these are centered. So I'm gonna grab both of them, and I'm gonna say center horizontally. Okay, so that's saying it's went over just a little bit. Okay, so great. Now what I'm gonna do is I am going to add some vines to the top and bottom. So I'm gonna go over here to the images box, and I am going to be searching for, it's in this little cartridge, Humming in My Garden, and I'll let you know what the exact code is. I kind of call it the Cricut code. So I'm going to be using this. It's the Leaf Flourish. And if you go and hit this little I, it will turn around and it will tell you the details about it. So it's M6DFDC94 if you guys want to go find it. I went and typed Leaf Flourish into Design Space's search box, and just about 1 million things popped up, so it was very hard to find. So I want to make sure to give you guys this code if you guys want to use something just like this, or you can choose something entirely different. So now I'm going to go ahead and insert my image, and I am going to have 2, but I only need to insert 1. So I'm going to do something like this on the top and bottom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate. Let's see, do I want this size? I think I do. Maybe make it tad smaller. Let me make this, let me flip this. I think it's gonna be easier just for me to do the top one first. Let's see here. How big? Sorry guys, I'm just going through my sizing here. I'm trying to remember how I did this and how I wanted it to look, and how I think I had it a little bit bigger than I've said this before, the designing for me takes longer than the actual project. I just really put a lot of time into my design. Okay, let me try this, and then I'm going to duplicate it. The reason I wanted to size first is because once I go to duplicate, the second one is exactly the same. So then I'm going to go to flip vertically, and I have the next one right here. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay, that looks just about perfect. Okay, I'm just making sure that I like how that looks. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead, and once I have decided for sure that I like it, let me just double check. Sorry guys. I want to also make sure that these two, so I'm going to grab both the leaves. I want to make sure that they are centered vertically. Oh no, sorry, centered horizontally. Am I the only one who sometimes gets those all jumbled? I know they even give you a am I gonna do it wrong? Okay, no, I didn't. Okay, center horizontally. I know they give you a little guide in there, like picture guides, but goodness, sometimes, again, early mornings sometimes have me just really thinking about it. Okay, so everything is centered really nice. I'm gonna make sure everything together is centered, center horizontally. So that pulls that over just a tad. Okay, I'll go with it. So now what I'm gonna do is I am going to, this one's not looking right to me. Indecisiveness. Okay, I just want this leaf next to this D. It was just way too close for my comfort. So I pulled it away just a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm happy. I promise I'm happy. Sometimes all the work you do up front though, like allow yourself some moments of indecisiveness, because if you make something and it's gonna bother you, then every time you look at it, you're gonna wish that you would have either pulled a vine further away or whatever. So just be calm, take your time, and do it right the first time. So sometimes you always will be like, okay, just decide, but you know, it's worth just taking your time. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I want all of these to print together on the white vinyl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and hit weld. If I don't hit weld and I go to hit make it, oh, it's telling me that this is, hold on. Let me hide this. If I go and just hit make it just like this, what it's going to do is it's going to print, everything just kind of haphazardly. And we just went through all of that work of centering everything horizontally and doing all that work. So we want to make sure it's printed all together. So now what we'll do is we will go ahead and hit weld, and this just makes it all one image over here. So now we can pull it over here and we can color it white and we can get to sizing. So now what I'm going to do is I will just size where I want. And Cricut will let you know over here. I have the Joy selected, so I'm using the Cricut Joy. It will let you know by giving you a red, or an orange triangle like alert button if your image is too big for the Cricut Joy. So watch as I make this bigger. If I make this bigger, it will send this alert button and say, whoops, you are way too big for this cutting machine. So I actually want it to be just about right here. That looks really good to me. Okay, final answer. So now I can go ahead and hide this gray box because I was just using it for measuring purposes. And then I'm gonna go ahead and click make it. And now, since we welded them together, it's all gonna cut perfectly just as is. So all the hard work is done. Now we just have to apply it to the glass. So now what we're gonna do is hit continue. And it's just gonna locate my Joy via Bluetooth and allow us to, did it allow me to say, oh, it is without a mat. Okay, so just wanted to make sure. I feel like it skipped that step for me. Did it skip it? Usually it asks me, but again, it's without a mat, so we're gonna be doing matless cutting. And then what we're gonna use is the Smart Material Permanent, and we're gonna use default pressure. So now we are just going to load the material in the machine. There usually was a box that popped up that asked you if you wanted to cut on the mat or off the mat. So again, you'll just say without the mat. I'm not sure why it didn't pop up. But I am double checking over here that it is without mat, so we are good to go. Okay, so now what we'll do is we will get everything loaded, and then once we load, this little green button up here will pop up to say go, and we can click go and it'll get cutting. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and load the Smart Material. Again, it's without a mat. So all you're gonna do is you are going to set the Smart Material in here against the wheels and it will auto load. Perfect. And then now what it's going to do is it's going to measure the material and just make sure that we have enough. And so I'm just going to click go. And it's going to go ahead and get everything pulled in and started cutting. So now while that's doing that, I did sneak some, where did I put it? I did sneak some tape onto the table. So always make sure to reference the description box below, because sometimes I sneak some materials in that I forgot, and I'll make sure to link them all. That way you have everything that you need to create this own project yourself. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to get this paper applied to the actual little shadow memory box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use my paper trimmer and get that out. And we will start taking this box apart. So what we'll do is we'll just flip this over. So this is in the frames section if you're wanting to grab one of these. I think, don't quote me, but I think it was half off when I bought it because it's normally about $20, $19.99. And I remember seeing a sign, I think it might have been 40 or 50% off. I think it was 50% off, but I was super excited because whenever you can get a good deal is a good day. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to just place this paper on the back. So we'll just remove this little backing. They have it really on there. And you guys can apply this any way that you want. I am just simply going to use tape. It's going to be inside a box and it's really not going to be having to weather anything. So tape is going to be just fine. But like I said, if you guys have another adhesive method, totally do that. So I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. I'm going to place that on there. Okay. Originally, I was just going to measure this and then measure my my paper and cut it with my paper trimmer, but I am going to deviate from my plan and just skip a step because I think if I just apply the paper and then cut it, it will do just the same and it will be quicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this down. Like this. I love this scalloped paper. It's so pretty. Okay. And it's double-sided, so if you turn it over, then you'll see some pretty little butterflies in the back. Okay, so now that I have it, what I'll do is I'll just grab my scissors and I'll cut. So you can measure it and use your paper trimmer if you'd like, or this is going to do the same job, and it'll be a little quicker. Save you some number measuring in the morning. Okay. And don't worry about your cut being super perfect because it's just going to go, I'll show you. It's just going to be laying in the back here, so you're not even going to see the edges. So now that's laying down really nice. We'll just go ahead and place this back in here. Flip the little clips back in place. And turn it over. And there we go. How pretty. This is going to look so pretty in my house. Okay. So I can put my paper trimmer away. False alarm on the paper trimmer. This worked even better. Okay, so it's all set to go. The Cricut Joy is all ready. So now I'm just going to hit unload on my computer or whatever device you're using. The Cricut Joy is buttonless, so it's really hard if you are already a Cricut person because you're going to want to, like, your muscle memory goes to turn it on and off or load and unload, and it's all buttonless. So it just takes a little bit to remember that. Okay, so now let me go ahead and cut off my extras. And I'll just tidy up my space a little here. And we will get to weeding. Now, so Cricut has made their mat a white color. So for this part, it's going to be really difficult and impossible for you to actually watch me weed. But I will just go ahead and do it for you and kind of walk you through the best I can. So it's hard to see just because we're using white and it's already on a white backing, but it weeds so well. I don't know. Let me know, you guys. Do you guys feel like the Joy vinyl, like the smart vinyl, feels thicker in a way? I kind of feel like it feels just a tad more sturdy, if that makes sense. It was just my first impression with it, and so it weeds really well. So I'm just going ahead and I am going through and weeding out all the little parts of those leaves. Okay. And since this part you can't really see anything that I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward for you guys so that we can just get through this weeding and you guys can start watching me apply this. Okay, so I'm just finishing up this last little vine at the bottom, and take my word for it, it is looking really good. You guys will be able to see the final in just a second when we get this transfer tape on. Another fun idea, if you wanted to do something like this, would be like a baby box, or you know, you could put their name on the front, and then you could you know, slip some of their sweet belongings in there. That would be so cute. Or if you're doing it for, you know, a grandparent or somebody's birthday, you could just put some of their favorite things in there. There's so many ideas. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I weeded all my middles out. Looks like I did. Okay. Got it just about done. So now, just cleaning up all these little middles that I weeded out. Get everything all ready to go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Cricut transfer tape, and I'm going to just lay this down. I'm actually going to cut off just a little piece over here. I have a lot of material. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get this laid down. Let's see, let me cut this first. Just about right here. So we'll see how this works on glass. I will test it for you. So for the glass, I did prep it by just washing it with some glass cleaner. Usually I prep my surfaces with rubbing alcohol, but I don't like how streaky it looks on glass, and I feel like I have to rewash it anyway, so I just went ahead and put just normal glass cleaner on there. Okay. What I love is that this transfer tape has the grids on it, so that's super helpful. So I went ahead and laid that down, and now I'm just going to take my squeegee and just really press. Now don't put your weeding tool away quite yet, because you're going to need it to potentially help some of this vinyl come up off of the little backing of this mat. So I just keep it out, and it's very helpful. Sometimes it comes off just as it should, and sometimes it just needs a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of help coming off. Just re-squeegee that. Okay. Okay, come on, little guy. I know it's early. So now just slowly peeling. The backing is this little mat, if you will. It's super thick, so you kind of have to keep a really steady grip on it. There we go. Okay, so it is all done. Some parts were a little tricky to come up from that mat, but whoops, but it looks really, really good. Okay, so you guys can finally kind of see that design. I'll try to place it kind of so you guys can see it. So pretty. Be really careful when you're working with a font such as this bottom one that are very delicate, so you'll just want to take your time and make sure that those all come up nicely. But now we are all ready to apply it down. I'm just going to bring it a little further in and do our best to get this straight the first time. Straight and even. I tend to, if you want to use your measuring tape, totally do that. I tend to rely a lot on my eye. Let's see here. And it works just about every time. Oh my goodness. Okay. And if it wasn't perfect, it's just about close enough. Okay, so looks good to me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my squeegee, rub it down. So excited to have this finally. I love this idea. Plus, it kind of helps in the times of waiting when you're waiting for, you know, a prayer to be answered. It kind of helps to just see that, you know, it will come. It has in the past, and it will again in the future. So, okay, so now, okay, A+ with this transfer tape. I have completely been converted into a believer of this Smart Vinyl transfer tape, at least. When I first started Cricutting, I used their, you know, like original transfer tape, and it was just awful, in my opinion. It was way too sticky, but this is amazing. Looks so good, and it peels off like a dream. Okay. So now it's all ready and all done. If you have any little bubbles, you'll just kind of go through. You can take your little squeegee tool, you can take your fingernail and just kind of rub those out. And I love how it's on the top of the glass. I feel like it makes it look dimensional. It also makes it almost look like paint. So it's just giving it a really, really pretty polished look in the end. So that is the final product. It looks really good. Kind of hard to see with the little shadows behind it, but then you can just go ahead and place your little answered prayers or whatever you decide to do in the top. Shake them around a little bit, and there we go. I love it. I think it's going to be so pretty, and I think it's going to be a really intentional piece in my house, and such a good learning tool for my little kids too. So I love this. All right, guys, I am full of ideas for this spring. In fact, once I stop recording this, I have like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to look. Probably like 10 blanks to paint today. I have so many things to paint. I went and got tons of paint this week. So make sure you're subscribed because so many wonderful things are coming to the channel and I can't wait for you guys to see it and to see everything. I hope you guys can see this really well. It's so pretty. I love it. I love it. Oh, my heart is super happy today. So whether you guys decide to do this or take the tips to do something a little bit different, let me know. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Again, be sure to subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot of fun things next on the craft table. And I would appreciate if you give this a like. And I will see you guys all in the next video. I hope everyone is starting to see some spring weather in their neck of the woods. We are starting to see some blooms on our trees and it is making me so, so thankful and happy. All right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend.